Alright, so welcome to a different type of video. Today will be the first ever podcast that will be appearing on my channel. Now this podcast is called the CastUListen. Normally there would be two people, me and my friend, but sadly he could not make it in, he had other plans, but that's okay, he will be here the next podcast. Today is just going to be about the introduction to the podcast and other topics as well, but I'll get into that. So the first thing I want to talk about is what the podcast is going to be about. So what the podcasts are going to be, there's going to be one podcast for each month, and it's going to be on the last day of each month, just like this is right now. In each podcast, we are going to be talking about pretty much what went well or what went poor during that month. Of course, there's going to be other things that we talk about, but obviously that's going to depend on what the topics are for each podcast. But again, let's save that for a different podcast. Today, however, I'm going to be going into 3 different topics. The first one is going to be an introduction to the channel, my channel specifically. The next is going to be the hopes for the future of that channel, of my channels. The next is going to be kind of a personality one, which is what are my favorite games and what I like about them and what I just like about games in general. So without going too much into this fluff, I'm just going to jump right into it. So my original channel is Jadro. I post variety content on it from various Nintendo games. However, I have recently noticed that it might not be the smartest idea to do variety on my main channel. So what does that mean? Instead, I'm going to be switching over to do just Super Mario Maker 2 videos on Jadro. I'm super excited to do this change because I really enjoyed playing Super Mario Maker 2 and I enjoyed making videos for it. Now, depending on where you're watching this specific podcast, I have posted this on Jadro and a second channel, JadrohU. JadrohU is going to be a place where I post whatever. That's where the variety content is going. It's where I can be more serious and be more basically myself around games that I love and other things. For starters, the first video that I have in mind after the podcast, of course, is going to be an Age of Calamity review. There's also going to be other things like my favorite shrines or just other things centered around more serious or just more script-centric videos. I will also be posting some funny moments with friends as well from other Nintendo games on JadrohU. So if you like variety content from me, you can easily just go over there and subscribe on JadrohU. I realized that it was kind of a best of both worlds, really. If people did not like Super Mario Maker 2, and they preferred my variety, well then they can go over to JadrohU, where I will be posting multiple different things. As for Jadro, it's going to be just strictly Super Mario Maker 2, but I am still super excited. Now there's a third channel, JadrohVods, which will be the place and home of my Twitch streams and clips. As you guys know, I will also be streaming on Twitch on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So for every stream that happens, the next day we'll be posting the official stream and stream highlights. So you will be getting that every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Another thing, with Fridays on Twitch, I will be streaming a flashback game. It will be either a game of old or a game of new, it does not matter as long as it's a game that I feel nostalgia towards or even a new game that I've never played before. I've had this idea now for a couple years, and I just love the idea of revisiting old games or nostalgia games for a stream. So of course, if you guys are interested in that, you guys can go follow my Twitch, it's just Jadro. So of course, if you guys do like the streams and you just happen to miss one day, you can easily just go onto JadrohVods and either look at the highlights of that stream or watch the full stream if you're into that. So that's the overview of Jadro. You have Jadro, JadrohU, and JadrohVods. That is the core of Jadro. So to say the least, I am very, very, very excited for what's to come. So this is going to be a very, very short podcast. It's almost like a mini podcast because it's an introduction to what's happening. So the next topic I want to talk about is what did I like about January and what could I fix or what can I improve upon? The thing that I absolutely loved about January was the amount of support that I got on my YouTube channel. I was able to surpass 30 subscribers. I gained 10 subscribers in January, which was honestly the best feeling I've ever had in the world. It made me feel like I was a real YouTuber. I was able to sit down and realize this is going to be a real dream of mine come true if I put in the effort. The dream won't come true if I just sit back and watch it happen. I need to sit and do my job. Another thing that I was pretty proud of myself with January was the amount of times that I streamed. Of course, I would have liked to have streamed way more. I think I only streamed about 7 times, but other than that, I knew that it was a step in the right direction. I streamed. And of course, one thing that I'm very proud of is obviously starting this podcast. It's definitely something me and my friend have thought of for almost a year now. So now that we're finally getting into it, it's so exciting. So now I want to get into the more things I want to improve upon from January. The one thing is I was very harsh on myself in the middle portion of January. I was posting videos and I realized, am I posting the right thing? Am I doing it right? It just made me not feel right. I was always doubting myself with the videos. And that's something I disliked. Of course, near the end, I got a little better. I figured out what I wanted to do. I figured out what the structure I wanted for my videos. And now everything seems to be falling into place. But again, that's just something I want to work on in February. Stop doubting myself. Other than that, I think that is pretty much the only thing I disliked about January, for YouTube anyway. Overall, I really loved how this year started with YouTube. So now we're moving on to the future, the hope, what I'm hoping for February. So again, I'm not looking for anything too crazy. I am hoping I can upload still every other day and stick to the schedule that I've created. I'm hoping I can follow through and make obviously the next podcast, upload every other day on Jadro, upload at least 10 videos on JadrohU, and of course, keep consistency with the 3-day streaming. If I'm able to do that, then I will call February a very successful month. I'm not looking at any goal for subscribers or Twitter followers, Instagram followers. I'm not looking at any of that. I'm just looking at getting into my rhythm for the future. So speaking of the future and speaking of everything, I want to explain why I decided to make a channel and why I'm deciding to do all this extra stuff. So the reason why I started a channel was because back when I was around 12 years old, I was watching YouTubers. And every single day, they just made me laugh and they made me feel good. It was almost like a real escape. And they were doing it while enjoying video games. So my main thing was I wanted to do the exact same. I wanted to bring entertainment to others like the way that they did for me, while playing some of my favorite video games of all time. When I look at it in one way, I really love the idea of waking up, looking at my phone, seeing a bunch of people happy at seeing my content. Already I'm seeing nice positive comments about my content. That makes my whole entire day and night. And that's what I'm striving for. I'm not striving to be rich and famous. I'm striving to just make people entertained. And so far, I've made 35 people, 36 people happy. So the one thing that I'm very, very excited and hopeful for the future is this. I hope I can bring even more entertainment to others and to you guys. Okay, so now moving out of the hopes for the future, obviously because the hope is to just entertain others. This next portion kind of goes a little south of that. Now it's going to be talking about personal stuff. What my favorite games are, hobbies, and all that other kind of stuff. So I know it's kind of a weird topic to start off with, but I'm just going to say it. My favorite video game of all time is Breath of the Wild. If you guys follow me on Twitter or Instagram, you can see that I post a little bit of stuff about Breath of the Wild. And the reason being is that I love games that give you the freedom. Freedom and creativity are my favorite things ever. In video games, of course. And real life. But there's just something about games that are able to feel like they're so open and just creative. Every single step I take in Breath of the Wild, I feel like it's so important. Same with another favorite of mine, Mario Odyssey. Every step that I take, every decision that I make, it feels like I'm in charge. I'm in charge of which direction I go and how I get to that point. So that's why they're my favorite games of all time. It's because they give me the freedom to create these new scenarios that other people probably won't even create. That's what I love about Breath of the Wild, especially. It's so interesting watching someone play through it for the first time, and then you watch someone else play through it the first time. They have completely different scenarios. One goes to Meadow right away. One person goes to Ruta right away. It's so interesting to see how much creativity people can get with these games. And that's what I love about video games as a whole. In my personal opinion, I think video games are an art. They're so creative and they're so passionate. Some games, obviously. And obviously this is going to tie back with another previous point that I had, another topic I had, was one of my future hopes is to create a video game. I love the idea of creating an open world that anyone can explore, that anyone can do in their own pace. That's what I love about the games. Okay, I'm dragging on a little bit too long, but obviously I just wanted to get my points across. So as a quick overview of what just happened in this podcast, I kind of talked about the introduction to this podcast, what's going to be happening, what you're going to be seeing. I talked a little bit about what my channel structure is between JadrohU, and JadrohVods. I also talked about the hope of the future of my channel and also kind of what my channel represents as a whole. And of course, I kind of threw in a random topic of what my favorite video game was and why I love video games so much. Another thing I want to land on is another reason why I wanted to create YouTube is to share my passion of video games with others. Like I said with the Breath of the Wild and Odyssey, and I want to share that same love and passion with everyone else. So in the closing statements, I know this is a very, very, very short podcast, and I'm sorry. The next podcast will be much longer, maybe over an hour, maybe two, with one of my close friends. Just another closing statement I want to go on is I do have other social medias. I have a Twitter, an Instagram, and a TikTok. If you guys would, just go over there, support me on there. I tweet relatively every single day. I post something on TikTok every single day. Instagram, I'm a little hit or miss. I gotta do a little bit more on Instagram, but other than that, I'm pretty much active on all three accounts. So anyway, I just want to say thank you guys so much. If you made it to this point, thank you very much for listening. I know it's kind of a boring podcast to listen to because it's just getting in, it's just me. But thank you very much for the amazing month of January. And I'm super excited for the month of February and pretty much the rest of my career, hopefully. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching the first episode of the CastUListen Podcast. And I will see you in the next one.